Hello everyone, this is Not From This World and welcome to my next tutorial. In my last tutorial I talked a little bit about lighting and how you can set up some simple lights. Well, I want to show you a couple extra things that will help with your lighting. So I'm back with my Milika character, and I have her set up, if you look, with the same three spotlights that I had in my last tutorial. So remember, I told you to set up three lights. I have a spotlight kind of on her right, a spotlight on her left, and then a spotlight kind of facing her more directly. So spotlight 1 is to her left, spotlight 2 is kind of facing directly at her, and spotlight 3 is on her right. And if we render, we get kind of a nice picture with some good ambiance. So I'm going to show you this really quick. Let's render it up, see what she looks like. Okay, so let's just go ahead and cancel this out, and we can see, a general render that has our lights. Now, what I did for this video is I added a candle to her hand. It's a pretty cool prop. You can see that it's got some smoke, but a candle is going to be glowing. So I want to show you a couple of things that we can do with this picture. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is something I didn't do in the previous video. Remember, in the previous video, we were selecting these spotlights, we were going to photometrics, and we were playing with temperature. And so I could move the temperature down and make kind of a picture that had sunset, orange and yellow and red, or I could raise it up to get darker colors, kind of blue to purple. Now, if you want some extreme colors, there is a cool little trick to this that I didn't show you in the last video. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just go to my perspective view. Remember, we have these three spotlights. Now I'm going to select this spotlight that's to our girl's left. So it's actually spotlight number 1. So I'm going to click on spotlight number 1, and you can see it highlights it in our picture. We can also come up here to our view, and I can select it so we can see where it's at. And I can adjust it. We can move in or out. I'm going to move in just a little bit. But now with my spotlight selected, I'm going to come in here, and instead of going into this photometrics, I'm going to just click on the light. And as soon as you click on the light, you'll notice that we have a couple of things here that's pretty cool. First of all, we have a spread angle, so I can narrow this spotlight down. So I can narrow it down to a specific part, or I can broaden it so it's more wide in the scene. All right, so I can do that kind of thing. I can also increase or decrease its intensity, so the light intensity. This is very similar to our photometrics when we are, if you look here, our luminous flux, we can add it or subtract it. So we do have an intensity here that we can mess with. What I'm going to play with for you tonight is the color. So if I click on the color, I can make basically a filter in this spotlight of any color I want. So let's just choose like orange. All right, so if I choose orange, now this spotlight is showing an orange light. So if I go back to my camera, we'll notice before I render, you see that she's kind of got this orange glow. Pretty darn cool. So let's render this, and let's just compare it to that other picture that we just created that didn't have these filters. All right, here we go. Let's see what happens. So you can see now that by adding a filter to my spotlight, I'm getting a more detailed render. Now, one of the things that is really cool about this technique is with this candle. Now, I put a candle in Milika's hand to show you another lighting aspect, which is called a point light. And a point light will illuminate a specific area of your render. And so this right here is called a point light. And there's actually two types of point lights. There is a linear point light, which is going to have your light projected inward. And then there is this new point light, which will radiate light out. So I am going to click on this point light. We are going to create a point light. I'm just going to keep it. You can rename it. I'm going to keep it the name just point light. And it's going to appear at your grid 000. So I can click on this point light, and I am going to raise it up and position it so that it is right at that candle's flame. All right, this may take a little finagling to get it in the right spot. So I'm going to take another camera because I don't want to move the camera position that I have set up, because I want to keep that identical position. So I'm just going to use a different camera to kind of zoom in here so that I can move this point light directly where the flame of the candle is. All right, so I still need to move it just a little bit. There we go. That is pretty close, it looks like. Okay, now let's go back to our original camera. So now I have this point light. Now let's render just to see what a point light looks like without any changes to it. All right, so let's get a good render here. Now the point light, if I click on it, you'll see here under light that it's got the same choices that our spotlight had. So we have the light geometry, point light, rectangle, disc, sphere, cylinder. For this, we want to keep it as a point because we want the light radiating from one specific place. We also, of course, have this photometrics where we have a luminous flux that is defaulted to 1500. We are going to change it to 25,000. So we're going to make it much brighter. And then like the spotlight, we have a temperature. So the temperature is defaulted at 6,500. And we can lower this down. Let's lower it down to about 1,500. Just going to kind of eyeball it here. It doesn't have to be exact. And that's going to change that temperature of the point light. Now let's go ahead and render this. Let's see what we get. Okay, let's go ahead and cancel this. And so you can see we really get a nice glow to our candle when we add that point light. Now, another thing that we can do is what we did with that spotlight. We can come here to light, and then we can change its color and intensity. And so, like for example, if I select an orange color here, we're going to create a much more colored candle. So let's just render what we've got here. Okay, so as you can see, we really get some nice contrast with the point light here. So the picture on the left is my original picture with my 3 spotlights. Then I started adding this point light. This is changing its luminosity. And then we get even more of a glow on our third picture here when we are looking at changing the filter of our point light. So the point light here can be really handy. You just need to play with it, play with the intensity, play with the color, and we can get quite a beautiful render that can elevate all of your work. So I want to thank you for watching my video, and please subscribe or give me a comment or a like. I would really appreciate that, and I'll see you on the next tutorial. Have a great day.